Forced a lovely smile there, Neil Robertson. He knows that he's won this year's World Championship.
And he blows a kiss to his mum, and there she is, still waving the Australian flag. She flew at the last minute from Melbourne to see her son. She said if he ever got to the final, she'd promise she'd be there. And he's not let her down. It's been hard graft, it's been a war of attrition. But the Australian now is just putting the finishing touches to a great tournament.
That was the final stages of the 2010 World Championship. That must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's like it was kind of like the natural progression for me at that time. I think I'd won quite a few ranking events. I think I was at the time like sort of 3 or 4 in the world. So that was like the next big step, was to win one of the Triple Crown events, which is the UK Championship, the Masters, World Championship. Yeah, there are like what's called the traditional majors in our sport. Yeah, and it was incredible. Really, it was probably the hardest time it's ever been to win the World Championship from where the game was. We only had 6 professional tournaments at the time. We had lost all the like the tobacco sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. Big transition. I think a lot of sports around the world were trying to sort of like recover from losing sponsors. And so nobody really knew where the game was going to go. So there was just so much pressure for everyone going in. Like, maybe is this going to be like the last kind of World Championship, or what's going on? Barry Hearn just took over the sport, so who knows what's happening. And the last 16 game, I was playing Martin Gould, and he came out super underdog.
And he is like hot and cold. And sometimes you just go, it's not my day. I remember that.
He went 6-0 up, and then I'm thinking, like, what is going on? I play this well against me. Yeah, exactly. I was 11-5 down going to the last session. Checked out of my hotel, just thinking, Martin's just played too good. I'm going to go out, and I don't know. Going into that session, things just turned around. All of a sudden, all the big pots, the 2 out of 10 pots that he was getting earlier on in the match, they weren't going in. I lifted my game, applied some pressure, and somehow turned that match around and won 13-12. And I remember at 12 each, I knocked in a really good long red to start off a 50-odd break, which turned out to be like the match winner. And Stephen Hendry said it's one of the best pressure pots he's ever seen. And quarterfinals, beat 6-time world champion Steve Davis in the quarters. And then the semi-finals, I was playing Ali Carter, who was number 3 in the world at the time, and he was coming off his best ever season. And it was when I won that match, I checked my phone. So now I know I'm in the final of the World Championships. I think I beat Ali 17-12 or 17-11, something like that. And I turned my phone on to see some all crazy messages and everything can you get me tickets? Can you get me tickets? You
might get those.
They couldn't be bothered to turn up for like my other matches. Everyone wants to be there for the final. And then but I got a voicemail from my mum. And she left it when I was going into my last session against Ali Carter. So she made sure that I wouldn't see it or hear it before my last session against Ali Carter.
That would have been a fair bit of pressure if you'd known, right?
She said, hey there, Chris and I, we're just about to leave Singapore. We're on our way to watch the World Championship. And I couldn't believe it because it would have been great to have my dad there as well, but just to have one of those two there was just absolutely unbelievable. And so then she arrived the day of the final, and going into the final against Graham Dott, who won the World Championship a few years before, also got to the final as well. Put a huge amount of pressure on me. So on one side, it was like amazing to have my mum there, but at the same time, it put an incredible amount of pressure on me because I didn't want to lose. She's come all this way, and I didn't want to lose. And emotionally, it was quite a lot to go through anyway, because that's the first time I'd seen her since like June or something. I'd always come back home for the off season for a couple of months and then head back off to the UK around July time. So that's the first time I'd seen her since July, and the World Championships is in May. So that was obviously a lot of emotion to go through. And then I'm trying to get my head around to play the world final in an hour and a half or something. So yeah, there was a lot of sort of like butterflies in the stomach and everything, and I had to try and really refocus. And yeah, it was a really hard fought match. Graham is one of these tenacious players who never sort of like gives in at all. And first session I was actually down 5-3, and then I turned it around in the second session. I went 9-7 up. Then I felt really good, really confident that I could do the job. And the last session was pretty tough and grueling. Graham made it real tough, sort of like match snooker. Like, if you're going to win this world championship, you're going to have to like
drag me off the table.
Yeah, bury me into the ground.
John
sort
Higgins,
of thing. And and eventually sort of got over the line and. Pretty comfortable in the end, and Mum was there with the Australian flag, which was obviously a really nice touch because I think that really helped out with all the Australian media and everything, seeing the Aussie flag, something I never thought about, but Mum thought it would be a great idea. And then all of a sudden my life just completely transformed.
We'll be sure to bring a flag with us.